what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time it says.
Welcome to the Matthew Mania Podcast. I'm Matthew Mashler, real estate broker who watches wrestling as if it's my job. And with me, the co-host of the Matthew Mania Podcast, Neil the Heel Glazier. Hi, Neil. How are you?
Hey, Matthew. How's it going?
Oh, it's going really well. We have a very, very special guest in the studio with us today.
I see that.
Do you want to introduce him?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give him a little introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Bilboa, Spain. Please welcome.
Well, I was going to give a little bit longer introduction,
Go for
but
it.
I was just going to say today we're going international as we sit down with one of the most passionate and insightful wrestling content creators from Spain, Falbak. Whether he's reviewing matches, breaking down storylines, or rallying fans across Europe, Falbak has become a leading voice in the global wrestling community. Let's dive in and get to the man behind the mic. Falbak.
Hey Matthew, hey Neil, it's a pleasure to be here with you doing this podcast. It's my first time ever doing a podcast in English. Actually, it's not my first language, it's my third one because in the Basque Country, in Spain, I speak Basque and Spanish, but I'm trying to improve my English, so I hope it goes well. And let's talk about pro wrestling, which is what we love.
If you need a translator, though, I am bilingual.
Really?
Yes.
Sure?
So.
Okay.
Hola, Falbak. Bienvenidos a Matthew Mania Podcast.
Igualmente.
Lo entiendo español.
Okay.
Hablo un poquito.
Poquito.
Lo entiendo.
Well, here in Florida, there's a lot of Latinos, right? Especially
Oh,
Miami.
Yeah. We have a very large Spanish-speaking population here in Florida. And then that was actually something I wanted to say. You know, Neil did this amazing introduction of you, but, you know, for those of you who don't know, Falbak is famous throughout the Spanish language speaking world. So throughout South America and Europe, anywhere wrestling fans speak Spanish, they all know Falbak. He is a major celebrity.
The number one
Spanish language YouTuber.
Content creator. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Wrestling related. So
Yeah,
Really.
my YouTube channel is the biggest one in the Spanish-speaking wrestling community.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, across Latin America, Spain, especially in Mexico. I have a big following in Mexico. Like 35% of my followers are from Mexico because, you know, Lucha Libre is very big in Mexico with all the masked wrestlers and, you know, people are very passionate. So yeah, I have a big following there.
Do they know you're from Spain?
Yeah, they know that I'm from Spain because my accent is very noticeable. Because, you know, in Spanish you have very different accents like the Mexican, the Argentinian, the Colombian, the Spanish one. So when you know Spanish and you talk Spanish to someone, they know to differentiate the accents, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we know someone from Boston or New York.
Or British, you know, or Australian, or yeah.
Yeah, I'm very good with Anglo accents. If someone's from, you know, South Africa or Australia or Scotland, I can generally pick it up, the subtle differences of where they're from, and obviously, in Spain, it's quite the same. Probably more Spanish language speaking countries in the world than English speaking.
Yeah, I think English is the number one spoken country in the world, but I think Spanish is the third or fourth one. I think so in the world after Chinese. I think so.
Probably
so
Chinese.
Yeah, still Spanish is very big.
Yeah. And I want to go on record. As of this morning, we always have a Spanish language commentary booth at our Boca Raton wrestling shows. So we have a second channel. We have our BRCW YouTube channel, but we also have BRCW en Español. And I just want to go on record. We have 5 subscribers as of this morning. 5 subscribers in BRCW en Español, and Falbak here. Coming in from Spain, he's going to do commentary with Ricardo Rodriguez on Sunday at BRCW's Underground, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to grow. We're going to
From 5 to 5 million.
Well, 5 million might
Crazy.
be 5 million might be a lot, but I do have this fantasy bringing in Ricardo Rodriguez to do Spanish commentary. I did have this fantasy that, you know, throughout Mexico, even in the U.S. Spanish language communities, but throughout Mexico and Spain and Central America and South America, I don't know how much content there is in Spanish. I'm sure WWE is in Spanish, but we might be able to pick up a following my primary goal with Boca Raton Championship Wrestling is the live show. Right? I'm very concerned about the live show. I'm trying to make it an event, a happening, something for the community, for my friends and family to bring their kids, and I'm trying to create an in-person community event. But then also the other challenges is bringing that online, and creating an interesting. So we have these great storylines and we have these great wrestlers. So I'm trying to create that experience online through social media and YouTube. I've experimented with different formats of the shows, but then also creating a Spanish language with the Spanish language commentary, a second. Not like a second purpose, right? Of having a following in Spain in Spanish, and I think it's an unlimited potential to reach hundreds of thousands of people in the Spanish language communities, and I do have an excellent product. So that's kind of what I'm playing with a little bit with BRCW and Espanol. I realize now that I've been spending some time in it. We don't have enough videos. As of today, only one show is there. I didn't realize that only one show is there, so I have to do some work to build up the content there. We're not, the in-ring announcing is English. Obviously, we don't have subtitles. It's probably enough to get by with the commentary. But I'm really hoping to grow. I have work to do to grow, put the content out there, and then grow my following in Spanish. And if I succeed, then I can think about a third language.
Who knows?
And we do have the content, and that will be being put out within the next few weeks.
All right.
I think for my followers, it's going to be really special to see me doing commentary with Ricardo Rodriguez, because a lot of people that follow me, they really watch WWE, especially in Mexico. WWE started gaining fame in 2009 because they put it on Open TV, in national TV. And that was the time where the PG era started. Then Alberto Del Rio came out in 2010. He was champion. He had a great push. And the people remember Alberto Del Rio and Ricardo Rodriguez, who was his presenter, and he's going to be doing commentary with me. Yeah. So I think that people really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story of how we started with Spanish commentary. And we're 3 years after we started our first show. So we're starting now our third year as a company. It's been 2 years, but it's our third anniversary. And there was a storyline about a year and a half ago where someone was going to crash through a table. And I thought to myself,
but there are always two tables, right? English and Spanish.
Well, we didn't have Spanish commentary at the time.
Okay.
But in our storyline, we never had someone crash through a table before. So in our storyline, we were going to have someone crash through a table. And I started thinking, well, if we're going to have someone crash through a table, why not have a Spanish announce table?
The wrestling tradition, right?
Because they did at the pay-per-views or premium live events. I don't know how. When I started watching wrestling with my kids, David and Lindsay, it seemed like every premium live event, every pay-per-view, someone went through the Spanish announce table. I don't think that happens that much anymore. But for several years, that was a running gag. So I'm like, all right, well, if we're going to have someone go through the Spanish a table, let's make it a Spanish announce table. And then I'm thinking, okay, who could we bring in that could be the Spanish commentator? Sometimes I confuse the word commentator and announcers because the commentary table is called the announce table. I realize that's why I confuse it. And I remember Ricardo Rodriguez being the personal ring announcer for Alberto Del Rio. And I said, all right, and Ricardo Rodriguez does the indies now that he's not with WWE, and he has a school where he trains wrestlers in Pennsylvania. So we reached out, we brought him in to do Spanish commentary, and then someone went through the Spanish announce table, and then we've been doing it ever since. Although there was one show where I was sitting there and I realized, we didn't book anyone to go through the Spanish announce table.
When was the first time you booked the Spanish table in a BRCW show?
Neil, do you want to take this one?
Ooh.
Well, let's see. So that time we brought in Ricardo, his co-announced team member was that Charlie Para.
Was it Birthday Bash?
It was Birthday Bash then, yeah.
Years ago?
It was.
When was it?
It was Birthday Bash. That was November of 2023.
Okay.
Our first show was May of 2022. Birthday Bash was November of 2023.
Okay.
We run Ricardo Rodriguez, and we had Charlie Parra in town. and they were the Spanish announcers. And do you remember who was the first person to go through a table at BRCW show?
Honestly, I don't remember.
He doesn't. It was Neil the Heel.
Really?
Yes, Neil the Heel.
Really?
Neil the Heel, in his continuing feud with Alan S2S Martinez, went through the Spanish announce table. Speaking of Charlie Parra, do you know Charlie Parra?
Yeah. So Charlie Parra started following my channel like in the COVID in 2020.
Uh-huh.
Okay. He was a great fan of my content. I started following him too. And then I met him in 2022 in Dallas when I went to my first ever WrestleMania. And there I met you too, Neil and Matthew.
Yep.
Yeah.
Charlie was with us.
We were with Charlie when you met Charlie in person for the first time. And I didn't know what was going on. And I didn't know who you were. I don't speak Spanish or follow you. But the two of you saw each other, and it was like long lost, like college roommates, like bumping into each other, and like
real connection.
You were so happy, and you knew each other, but it was the first time you met in person.
That's right.
And it was just such a warm, amazing moment.
Yeah.
It still brings me chills.
Divided by ocean, united by wrestling.
Yeah. So in Dallas in 2022.
That's right.
We even last night at the Red Meat Lovers Club event, we shared a photo of that meeting.
I think I sent you the photo.
You did,
right?
You did.
Yeah.
So
have it in WhatsApp.
I'm going to show it. I don't know if we can do it on our.
Okay.
On our, I don't know the technology
Switch
in the studio
to horizontal.
It's an audio. It's an audio, but I'll send this clip to my producers.
Yeah.
It's me, you, and Charlie Parra.
I remember that was my first time in a suit because The Undertaker was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's my favorite wrestler. And I said, okay, I got to dress to the occasion, appropriately.
I went to the Hall of Fame ceremony in 2012, and my friends and everybody was saying, like, you got to dress up. I'm like, I'm not dressing up. I'm like, I'm not in the show.
Yeah.
And then years later, I developed a suit gimmick, and I always dress up at wrestling now.
I always see you in suits in wrestling shows, yeah.
Yeah, the suit gimmick, it was an interesting one. There were several reasons why I started it. We'll do it on a different podcast. But I want to focus on Espanol. So, and then also Charlie Parra, for those who don't know, he is a very famous rock guitarist, and he plays in a band with Chris Jericho called Quarantine, which does Kiss covers and plays on the Jericho Cruise. And that's how we met Charlie, and he's become a great fan of our show
and friend
of ours.
But anyway, I'd like to get to know a little bit about Falbak.
Yeah,
and I'm sure the listeners would as well.
Yeah.
If we could, let's start at the beginning. How'd your love for wrestling start, and what's the wrestling scene like in Spain?
Okay, so my first memory of wrestling was when I was 7 years old. I remember that there was a channel in the TV in Spain called Cuatro, 4 is the translation, okay? And the first thing I saw was The Undertaker against Batista, WrestleMania 23, World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Fascinating match, loved it. And that was the time I fell in love with pro wrestling. And then I started the channel on January of 2016. What was the reason? Because I was the only one in the group of my friends who watched wrestling. And when you love to watch something, what you like to do is to share it with someone. But since my friends only watch football, soccer,
right.
Okay, which is very big in Spain, and none of them watch wrestling, I wanted to talk to someone about my passion, and that's the reason why I started uploading videos about wrestling, to have a community and just talk to them about my passion. Yeah. And talking about the independent scene in Spain, it's not that big because, in Spain there's no wrestling culture, but still there are some promotions in Madrid, Barcelona, Bilbao, Cantabria, Sevilla, and other cities. And it is great to have independent wrestling shows in your country.
Cool. Speaking of football,
yeah,
November 16th, Miami Dolphins are playing in Madrid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
With Messi?
No. American football.
Okay.
Football de Americano.
Sorry. Okay, yeah.
The Miami Dolphins, American football.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 international games now. It started, I think, with a game in Mexico City and London.
Okay.
Not every team plays international. Last year, the Dolphins played a game in Frankfurt, Germany. But this year, on November 16th, the Miami Dolphins are playing the Washington Football Club,
Madrid.
formerly known as the Washington Redskins, in Madrid.
Oh, I have never seen the NFL, so it would be great to see it live.
I'm going.
Oh, really? November?
November 16th.
Man, hope to see you there.
It's a Sunday.
Okay.
Sometime this weekend, make sure you talk to my wife, Wendy, and when we get our tickets,
we'll check it out.
We'll check it out. It's On Location that's been doing the WrestleMania travel packages. They're doing the travel packages for the Dolphins also.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm going to do it through On Location or not, but I do plan on going to Madrid.
Is the first time they do like an NFL show in Madrid? Or sorry, in Spain?
I don't know if there was a Barcelona game last year. There might have been a Barcelona game last year.
Okay. What I know is that in Madrid, in Spain, there's an American football team. Mm-hmm. And then in Barcelona too, I think so. But it is not that big, you know.
Yeah, no. This is legitimate. There's the last few years they've done a Mexico City game and a London game. There's always talk about possibly expanding the NFL to a team in London, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are always considered like a good candidate for that. It would be tough for people's travel schedule. The West Coast teams having to go to London, it could be a little tough for.
Oh yeah.
But
sure.
But to experiment in that and to grow the NFL and the worldwide audience, they've been doing these international games, just like WWE has been doing a lot more international shows. Yeah. Clash at the Castle in Paris, or it's France. I don't know if it's Paris.
Pass at Berlin, Backlash at Lyon, France.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of shows in Europe.
Yeah, so Clash at the Castle is in France this year. It's the same weekend as our BRCW Summer Smash.
Yeah, August 31st.
Yeah. I know there's a Perth, Australia pay-per-view coming up. So the NFL in Madrid, November 16th. We should talk about. My son's going to be spending the semester in Madrid.
Okay.
So
Madrid is great.
Yeah.
Especially if you like the food, the alcohol, the wine especially, and the vibe. People are very calm, friendly, warming. So
I'd only been to Madrid once. I've been to Barcelona 3 or 4 times, and Barcelona seems to be seems. I think of it as a more fun city, like more of a Miami.
Yeah, because
nightlife.
you have the beach near it, the mountain too, and the weather is better.
I never go to the beach in Barcelona.
Never. Like to Barcelona, never.
Well, the first time
it's
I went,
the most touristic place in
the first time I went, it was just like a tour of Spain. We did it on our own, Wendy and I, probably about 17 years ago.
You went to Sagrada Familia.
It was closed the first time. I went to Sagrada Familia on a more recent trip. I know I've taken 2 cruises from Barcelona. Mm-hmm. One was Barcelona to Rome, and one was Barcelona to Lisbon. That was like all Spanish cruise, Spanish cities until we got to Lisbon. So I saw the beach when I took the cruise. So on the most recent trip, I think, is when I did Sagrada Familia, which, for those that don't know, is the great cathedral. Every city in Europe has their big Catholic cathedral.
That's it.
And in Barcelona, it's Sagrada Familia, the Sacred Family, designed by the absolute insane, lunatic, batshit crazy architect, Gaudi. Mm-hmm. Obviously, most people talk about Gaudi in more praiseworthy words. They say things like genius, but no, he was batshit crazy.
And if you have the opportunity, someday I suggest to visit the Basque Country. I know it's not that touristic in Spain, but it's absolutely beautiful.
So when we're having dinner tonight with Wendy. Talk to Wendy about that, because we're going to Madrid November 16th. We don't have plans yet.
You have to go to Bilbao. Bilbao is the most touristic city in the Basque Country.
Yeah. So let's talk to Wendy about either before or after the game. We've never been to Bilbao. We've been to many cities, and we've been to Madrid, Seville, Barcelona, a lot of the cities on the coast.
Yeah.
Because of the 2 cruises, but we've never been into that area of Spain. So
I'll show you the best places there.
Yeah, we'll have to go to Bilbao.
100%.
It's famous for the Guggenheim Museum.
Guggenheim, yeah. It's that big museum. Mm-hmm. And there's the Guernica too. Guernica is the town where I live, but Bilbao is the near city. And the Guernica is the Picasso art. You know the Guernica? It's a famous painting.
Yeah, well, Pablo Picasso's one of his most famous paintings is
the Guernica. Because that town was bombed like 80 years ago. So he made a painting about it.
You live in the town
Guernica.
of Guernica.
Yeah. But when people don't know from where I am, I always told them Bilbao because Bilbao is the most the nearest city and it's more international. But the town I live is Guernica. Yeah.
See, I didn't even know Guernica was a town. Like if you told me Guernica, I was thinking the painting.
Yeah.
Which is in Madrid or in Paris?
It's a shame that the painting is in Madrid, the painting.
It's in Madrid?
But a lot of Basque people demand to be in Guernica because there was, a little bit of contest. There was like a civil war in Spain between the Republicans and the socialists. And it was the Madrid guys who bombed Guernica, and they have the painting. So it's like the painting for us is very symbolic, and we are demanding to have it back in Guernica where it belongs, But it's in Madrid.
For those that don't follow politics so much, the Basque country still yearns to be its own independent country, not part of Spain.
The Basque country is a region in the north of Spain. Is still inside of Spain. It has never been independent. For 40 years, it wanted to be independent. There was even a really hard time. There was like a terrorist group that they wanted to claim the independence. They didn't get their goal. But right now, there are no more tensions. We are friendly with Spain. They let us have our own culture, our own language, our own way of life. So we live peacefully together, Yeah.
But so Madrid, being the capital of Spain, it's where the king resides. It's why the
Felipe. Yeah.
It's why the soccer team is called Real Madrid. Royal Madrid. On my first vacation there 17 years ago, I think on the last day of Madrid, I decided to buy like a souvenir hat. Hat's always a good souvenir for me because shirts don't always fit. And so I get the hat, and then I go on the train and end up in Barcelona. And you don't want to be walking around Barcelona in a Real Madrid hat.
No.
A lot of tension between those football teams.
They are very intense, yeah.
Very intense. And I did feel very much it is a proxy for, centuries of war. Barcelona not wanting to be, ruled by Madrid.
Because with Barcelona is in Catalonia, and there's been tensions too between Catalonia and Spain for the independence.
Yeah, and Spain was unified in the late 1400s by Queen Isabella. There were 4 different kingdoms.
That's right.
That Queen Isabella had unified those 4 kingdoms into the Republic of Spain in 1492, I believe.
They went to America that year.
So
Cristobal Colón.
Yeah. So he Spain becomes a country. Queen Isabella decides to expel all of the Jews.
Yeah, that's right. In 1492.
So in 1492, they expel all of the Jews from Spain. Some stay and convert. Others leave, and Christopher Columbus leaves with 3 boats filled with people. And you can't tell me that is a coincidence.
The same year they expelled the Jews, they went to America.
The same day.
The same day. The same day they expelled the Jews, and then they went to America.
They expelled the Jews from Spain, and Christopher Columbus led an expedition of 3 boats.
So he was Jewish. That's the theory.
That is the theory.
That was the same day. I know it was the same year, but I don't know if it was the same day.
If it wasn't the same day, it was within days.
Okay.
Within days. It was October.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's.
I didn't really think about that.
You could see it in his writings. Certain Hebrew words and sayings and customs in his writings and in his family, and obviously certain Hebrew words do evolve into Christian religion.
Okay.
But you can see certain customs in Christopher Columbus's writing that does lead someone to the conclusion that he may in fact.
But he never officially said, "I'm Jew."
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And he wasn't Spanish; he was Italian.
Interesting.
He was from where?
I don't really know, man. Yeah. I have to read more about Cristobal Colón.
Yeah. But So anyway, Spain 4 kingdoms. So Basque was part of one of those kingdoms.
Maybe? I think it was part. I think my Spanish colleagues are gonna kill me, but I think it was part of the kingdom of Navarra.
Navarra.
Okay, I think it was part of it. Yeah.
So
I think so.
So yeah. So yeah, a lot of soccer in Europe is still
in Bilbao is very big, the athletic club, and it's very special because there are only Basque players. They don't let nor Spanish nor foreigners. So people are very arranged to that team. They feel like connected to it because you have your own people, your own blood, the Basque ones, and there's a great fan base there. And you have Barcelona, you have Real Madrid. And, I don't really watch soccer nowadays, but in Spain it's really, really, really big.
Yeah. And speaking of Basque region, you brought me a little treat from the Basque region.
Oh, yeah. You tasted, right?
I did.
Yeah, as I told you, it was a traditional Basque cake. It's a rice cake, and in the center was the lauburu. Lauburu is called the forehead, is the translation, because in Basque, lau is for and buru is head. And that's the most recognizable symbol in the whole Basque country. You can see that in a lot of houses, jewelry, and stuff like that.
Amazing. Yeah, so he brought me a wonderful treat of this Basque cake, and it had a beautiful symbol.
Lauburu, forehead.
On it, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
It was delicious.
Your family ate it?
I brought it home and I didn't give it to them yet because I got home late.
Okay.
So we're gonna finish that off tonight.
Did you take it out of the car?
I did.
Oh.
Really?
Wendy, can you take the cake and the cheese out? Wendy, if you're listening to this, can you check the trunk of the white car?
Okay.
Yeah. So that was fun. So like I said, we met at WrestleMania in 2022.
Yeah, in Dallas.
We've stayed in touch and met at many.
We saw in Los Angeles, in Philly,
Philadelphia,
in Las Vegas. Yeah.
The most amazing, and I'm going to say miracle.
Yeah.
I'm going to say miracle happened in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I was, Falbak was up in my hotel room, and I don't usually have people in my hotel room ever.
I think this is a different podcast.
And he didn't have tickets to WrestleMania. And I got a phone call from one of my rabbi friends, shout out to Rabbi Levi Wilhelm of the Chabad Southwest Las Vegas. Hey, Matthew, are you going to the fighting thing this weekend?
The fighting thing.
The fighting thing. He doesn't know from wrestling. I say, I am. He says, he has tickets for me if I want them. I said, Rabbi, I have tickets. And he says, do you know anybody that would want tickets? And I say, I am sitting here with...
Next to the guy who wants the tickets.
Next to my friend from Spain with no tickets, and my friend from New Zealand that I met with this morning who also has no tickets. So yes, I do know people who need tickets. I live such a blessed life. Of all whoever came to the rabbi and said, "Do you know anyone that needs tickets?" Like, how they got to that rabbi? Because that's my own rabbi I know in Las Vegas. That how that person came to that rabbi who knew the person to call, who not just I knew people that needed tickets, I was with at the moment. And if that, I do believe that was
coincidence.
Divine. It can't be coincidence.
Yeah.
That why?
Because it was the first time we had a breakfast, and just at the same time the rabbi called you. I told you that I didn't have tickets, so it was coincidence, you know.
It was done. None of it. Everybody involved in the transaction benefited except for me. Right? I had no benefit. The person who needed to get rid of the tickets got some money. The rabbi that introduced us got a donation. Haley and Falbak got 9th row tickets.
Amazing.
So I don't know why God wanted you to have the tickets, or why. I don't know why any of that was set in motion. But it had to be done through me.
It was the destiny.
I believe it was divine, and I believe I was a messenger. I don't believe it's more than that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to fulfill my role, however it needed to be. But how was 9th row at WrestleMania?
It was absolutely amazing being in ringside, watching WrestleMania, the experience, the view. the action, everything. I really enjoy WrestleMania every year ago. That was the 4th time I went to WrestleMania. And man, it was so grateful to be there. Thank you.
Is that the best seat you've ever had for a wrestling show?
Yeah, 100%.
Ninth row sounds
Ninth row.
And
amazing.
WrestleMania every year.
When I was in my 4th row seat, I saw you.
Oh, really? Bro,
Matt, that was your
WrestleMania.
3rd row seat.
Did I see you?
If you turn around, yeah.
If I turned around, I saw Neil. But if I looked straight at the ring, I saw Falbak.
I saw the back of your head.
And WrestleMania every single year is more and more and more expensive.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's crazy.
insane.
This year, the cheapest one was like $1,000 or
the day of
How much was
WrestleMania.
this?
The day of WrestleMania, if you wanted to get in and have the cheapest seat, it was $630.
wow.
The day of WrestleMania, $630.
And you want to go to the 2 days, right? So 1,300 easily.
But certainly, I mean, the first time I got 4th row tickets, I went with David and Stuart Shrek, 2012 to Miami, 2013 MetLife. I count WrestleMania by year. A lot of people, wrestling fans count by the number of WrestleMania, but I count by the year. 2014 was New Orleans, and then in 2015 it was in California, the WrestleMania play button, and that's the first time I did it with a travel package, and it was about $3,500. I had 4th row seats that they upgraded to 3rd row. But then I had seats for Raw, Hall of Fame. I bought tickets on the side for NXT. NXT was still being done at the local college. But it was Raw, Hall of Fame, and WrestleMania, 3rd row for all of it, with 2 sessions of access, a special meet and greet, a couple of meals, a hotel, and it was $3,500. The next year, about that same Dallas, and I was in the front row for all of it, including NXT. NXT was in the convention center. And it was Finn Balor was a champion versus Samoa Joe. And Finn Balor came at Texas Chainsaw Massacre because he used to do that demon gimmick. And I was in the front row for 4 nights plus hotel and access and a bunch of meet and greets and some other and some souvenirs for under $4,000. And
Crazy.
And this year, the front row package, which I did not get, was over $50,000.
$50,000.
Like green shirt guy.
Yeah.
He paid $50,000.
Wow.
And I mean, he got to walk in the entrance, and he got to, I think he got to do a ring entrance.
He rang the bell, right?
Yeah, he got to ring the bell for one match. He got to do a wrestler entrance the day on Saturday morning before WrestleMania. He got to walk the entrance ramp with the commentary team, and some other things. But it was WrestleMania only, 2 nights of WrestleMania, no other shows. Actually, he might have got SmackDown and Raw, but it was over $50,000 for the one seat.
He got a hell of an ovation when he came out, though.
Yeah. I said, you know, because the internet recognizes him. He's always with the same freaking T-shirt. So
He has 15 of them.
Okay, thanks God.
He has 15 of them. I mean, it's not that bad. If it's once a month, you could wash it. You know.
Just imagine every single show with the same T-shirt.
But he does have multiples. And 3 years ago when we did our first show, I asked him to come. I said I would save him a seat.
To BRCW.
Yeah, I said I will save your seat. You front row, right in the center, in front of the camera. I need you there. And he couldn't come, and it's fine. So we got Salvador Santoyo.
We bought the green shirt costume.
In a green shirt. We put him in a green shirt.
And hat.
With the mask. Come on.
Yeah.
I saw in WrestleMania, I saw a couple people wearing green shirts.
We should get green shirt guy for Summer Smash.
Do you want to get him for? Should I talk to him for Summer Smash?
You should head him.
You don't think he's going to clash in he doesn't usually do the international shows?
I don't think so.
He usually goes to the United States or maybe Puerto Rico.
Yeah, or Toronto.
He didn't go to Backlash.
Backlash.
I didn't watch Backlash, but I heard he wasn't there.
No, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I didn't saw him in the transmission.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should think about getting him.
I could ask. I have some inside knowledge. I do believe he plans on retiring on Cena's last match.
Oh, really?
That's something he said to me.
Then we should definitely get him.
So this is the last year of the green T-shirt guy in WWE events.
Partially because life and you get married and have kids and you have to move on a little bit, but also partially because the prices are obscenely expensive.
Yeah,
If we
and
do-
he cannot afford being every single year spending
I don't know if he could
$50K.
I don't know if it's
For
afford,
WrestleMania.
but want.
Yeah.
If we do bring him in, though, we cannot have him come to the podcast studio.
No?
No.
Oh, because of the green
Because
screen?
the green screen, yeah.
No, but is it real that he's retired? The green t-shirt guy?
It's something he told me.
Okay.
Something he told me.
And now everybody knows.
Everybody listening to us in Spanish.
That's big news, man.
Now Justin Shelton
Big
knows.
news.
Shout out to Justin Shelton. So, no, that's that's his choice. I don't know, but he's a very nice guy. I remember after COVID, the first time I saw him after COVID, I said, "Hey, I have a message for you." He goes, "From who?" I go, "From everybody." What's that? He goes, "F you." I go, "F you." But he's
He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
He's very nice. I had a list of questions for Falbak, and
Let's do it.
we only have a few minutes left, and I've only gotten to one. So,
All right, we'll ask another one.
all right, sure. So, for those who are unfamiliar, tell us what kind of content you create and how you've developed your style and brand as Falbak.
Okay, so I usually review WWE shows. I have done reviews of AEW, TNA, even New Japan Pro Wrestling, but right now I'm mainly focused on WWE. My main content is reviews of shows of the, present shows, Raw, SmackDown, PLEs, cover news. But then I have a section which is called Retro Review, which I review classic shows of the 80s, 90s, 70s.
Can you say retro again?
Retro. Nice. I say it in Spanish. In English, it's like retro, right? But I say it in Spanish, the retro review, okay? But yeah, I review classic shows. And I have my most acclaimed and loved section, which is Detrás del Kayfabe, Behind the Kayfabe. I do like a documentary style, covering the most controversial incidents in pro wrestling history. Yeah. And people really like it. Yeah, it has millions of views.
Like the Montreal Screwjob.
Montreal Screwjob, the death of Eddie Guerrero, the pipe bomb of Paul Heyman, the pipe bomb of CM Punk. Collision in Korea was the latest one. You know, the big wrestling show that they did in North Korea. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that one.
You don't know Collision in Korea?
Is it recent?
1995.
No.
Did they do
Antonio
Dark Side
Inoki
of the
versus
Ring?
Ric Flair in 1995, North
I heard-
Korea.
I heard of that.
Well, it's the biggest wrestling show in history.
Yeah.
150K in one night.
Wow.
In attendance, but it was obligatory attendance. So technically, it's the biggest wrestling show ever, but they were obligate. So yeah,
So,
it's not fair.
if someone wants to find you,
Yeah.
how do they find you on YouTube or Instagram? Or
Yeah, they can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as Falbak. Falbak. Falbak.
And in English, we're going to translate that as Falbak.
Yep.
Falbak.
That's it.
Okay.
And what does Falbak mean? Like, what's the meaning behind the name?
It doesn't really have a meaning. A lot of people think that it's a reference to wrestling fall back, like take a bump.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't have a meaning. It was like a combination of words. It was easy to remember. It is short. And I said, okay, let's try to put this name in my YouTube channel. And yeah, people remember me as Falbak.
Well,
That's my nickname.
So it means nothing.
Really, yeah, it means nothing. It doesn't have a meaning. It's like a combination of words.
I'm
being honest.
What does Neil mean?
Champion.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you want to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome.
And Matthew?
Gift of God. Gift from God.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Matthew Mania Podcast. I will be a guest of your podcast or your TikTok. What am I doing with you?
We're probably doing a podcast for my YouTube channel. And then
Podcast
I
for your
will.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, for
I'm
going to
be on your YouTube channel?
Yeah.
I
It's
can't
going to be
wait.
amazing because, a lot of my followers desire to go to a WWE show. Some of them have went to WWE shows, but a lot of them know. And they really going to appreciate to have the point of view of a long-time fan of WWE who has
Amazing.
been 40 years going to WWE shows.
Amazing.
So they're really going to appreciate your knowledge and your stories and your memories.
I do have one disclaimer. I have a gap. I started watching wrestling as a little kid, maybe let's say 1977.
77, oh my
Yep,
God.
I was 5 years old. Bob Backlund was the champion.
Yep.
I stopped wrestling right around 1987. I was about 15 years old, and I hadn't watched wrestling from 1987 until 2011.
Oh, so you missed the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression, everything.
A lot. Missed a lot.
Okay.
In 2007, I started watching with my children.
Okay.
So you say Undertaker,
Yeah.
but I missed.
Oh my God, you missed the Undertaker.
I missed most. I thought I grew up with Hulk Hogan.
But when you return to watch wrestling, have you watched the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression, or no?
No.
Nothing.
No.
Okay.
Clips and stuff. You can go back. I think I went back and watched WrestleMania 1 once. I watched some clips, but no, there's so much content. I couldn't really go back.
I know. Yeah.
I think I watched one old Royal Rumble, like before the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
With my kids at one point, but no. But again, I stopped watching before the Royal Rumble, before the first Royal Rumble, '87. I stopped watching. I stopped watching before Undertaker. I remember not liking Ultimate Warrior.
But we can reserve this for the podcast. Yeah.
So all right. So we're gonna call it a day here for Matthew Mania Podcast.
I have 20 more questions.
We'll save it for the weekend.
Okay. I don't want to know then. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for joining us on the Matthew Mania Podcast. And check out BRCW and BRCW in Espanol.
Let's go.
You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time it says. You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is.